Thanks everybody who's showing up today. Really appreciate your coming to this program. I do need to say a special thanks to the SMOL, and if anybody knows what that stands for, you tell me because I don't. The SMOL Fair, which this is the second year of SMOL Fair, which is an alternative book fair, which is live as of today through the 26th, exactly over coinciding with AWP. And that's why they set it up so that people could have a free place to sell books. If you go to their page, and I'll put that in the chat, you can see all of the journals and booksellers that are listed there. A lot of them have sales at, if you go to one of them, a lot of them will have special sales. We don't at Headmistress, but I'll tell you what we're going to do at Headmistress a little later. Thank you very much to the fair's organizers, Jessie Jewell, Mandana Chaffa, Wendy Fox, Annalise Gelman, Mariette Gillette, Lori Hetler, and Camden Hilliard. It's a lot of work, and I really appreciate the fact that they did this. So, as part of the SMOL Fair, we're listed this program, which is called Headmistresses Read, and it's all new books. It's part of the fair, and people can register from the events list. And you go to the events list as well. When I stop talking for a few minutes, I'll put all of these links in the chat, so you can see the participants, you can see all the events, and you can just see what else is going on, the tables of all of the participants. So we are going to have a featured reader first today. I decided to do it that way. I just like to do things different. And I wanted to give Mary plenty of time to read from her new book, which is Pools of June. I've known Mary, I've worked with Mary since 2013 when we put together the press, which was entirely her idea and my help. And I just have this amazing respect for her work ethic. She just works constantly. She's devoted her lifetime to affirming the right of women to love each other in both art and poetry. She's an expert in lesbian art. She began Lavender Review, which pairs poems and art by lesbians, in 2010, and has produced 2 issues a year since then, beautiful issues. You should definitely make sure you see it twice a year. For Headmistress Press, she designs and produces all of our books. So each of these covers that you see has been designed by Mary, and all of the production is on her end of things. I just do the books, the accounting, or that's one of the main things I do for the press. Each one of these books is really exquisite, and we're going to hear from the winner and the finalists from our 2021 Charlotte Mew Chapbook Contest later on, and also a special guest. And that'll be the second part of the show when we get there. The other thing I just want to say, because she gave me a very tiny bio to read to you, is that she's reading from Pools of June, which is, you'll hear, a work of just entrancing, gorgeous lyrical poems. And Mary has command of formalism and a surprising use of rhyme, and it's really rare among poets today. And I think we should really value and be happy we have her amongst us. So Mary Meriam co-founded Headmistress Press, edits Lavender Review, lesbian poetry and art. She's the author of Pools of June, just came out. My Girl's Green Jacket, which was published in 2018, the Lillian Trilogy 2015, and other books. Her poems have appeared recently in Poetry, Post Road, Prelude, Subtropics, and the Poetry Review. So, Mary, we just want to hear your lovely poetry now. And everybody should mute themselves, and everybody can use the chat.
Okay, thank you so much. That was very wonderful, Risa. I got a blurb from Robin Becker for my new collection where she said that My poems are informed by, quote, the erotic and a passionate connection to the natural world. So that's the theme of the poems I'm going to be reading today. And I thought it might be nice to read one by Robin Becker. And this is a sonnet from an anthology I edited that Headmistress Press published in 2014. And it's an anthology of sonnets. Guess what? Okay, so this is by Robin Becker. It's called Sonnet to the Imagination. In early March, I watch you sleep, your mouth open, as if surprised to find yourself a few hours of rest. I imagine you, a little girl in New Haven, learning your Hebrew, squirming under the floodlight of your parents' gaze, the way an only child absorbs the family depression and rage. You were already falling in love with revolution, her language and arguments, her women and children, her Algieras, her Santiagos. The decades of politics and travel and lovers became us. Now I want your mouth on my mouth and wonder where this wanting will lead if we let it wander, darling, as I wonder who you will be after my imagination has ravished you. And as long as I'm in this sonnet anthology, I thought I'd read the sonnet that comes right after Robin Becker, which is a sonnet of mine called Muse of O. Oh, lover, oh, my sweet, 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 sweet lover, the owing letters of our alphabet hide in the trees where wild blue tit birds hover and make sighs, their hardy beaks dew wet, their yellow feather sides astir with fret. You letter me, I letter you. We go so high above the trees to do the pet and bee, then with our O we go below. Down here, a hurricane begins to blow and blow the leaves like braille without a finger. We tattoo dictionaries so we know the tongue we speak and let our language linger. This is a sweet, 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 sweet afternoon, the education of our lover rune. Okay, and I thought I would also read one from my previous collection, as long as we're on this erotic and a passionate connection to the world kind of thing. This is from my Girl's Green Jacket, my previous collection. It's called Dusk. The water is a moving jewel at dusk, becoming black with pointed crowns of white. The day is stealing into pirate night. The poachers truck away the ivory tusk. I'll run and dive into the shadow light to swim the coolly emerald silky lake, or else to drown, to do what it will take to reach you in the silver sea tonight. Speak to me now, my awful witch, my gem. This evening's weight of beauty drags me under to silent seaweed chests of sunken plunder, a million pearls. Tongue them to me, make them become your voice, your lips, your breath, your eyes, the treasure of your arms, your hands, your thighs. Woo! Hot. Okay, now I'm gonna read, I see you laughing, Laura, at least. Okay, now I'm gonna read from Pools of June. Let's see, okay. This is called Wind. And let's see, I think everything I've read so far has been a sonnet, and this is also a sonnet. Wind. From spring to summer is a slow strip tease. Gone first, the hat, the socks, the heavy pants, for lighter pants, bare arms, and soon romance of skin and air, the touches of a breeze who cries to me, I am your spirit lover. I know you. You are mine invisibly. I move the heavens for your company. We two unbound in love with one another. 1,000 new green leaves begin to wave and whisper near the water where I live. Wind sighs that she has everything to give in spring and tries with all her scent to save my flowers. Feel me better, lonely girl. Unwrap your limbs, the more I twirl. See, that part that I was reading in a funny kind of voice is in italics. That's the wind talking. Okay. This one's called, it's also a sonnet, but it's in iambic tetrameter, which is only 4 feet per line. Where I wait in honeysuckle thunder, the sharp, alarming cries of crows. A storm approaching never blows my long undone undoing under. I hear sweet distant mourning doves, nearby woodpeckers' rhythmic tap. Suddenly leaves stand still in sap, hot sun and sound. I wait for love's hand on my shoulder. Hey, lost one, stuck in the woods, you bird girl leaf who sings and springs without belief. Don't trash your dope, I am not done. At that, the breeze returns and lifts a forest full of greeny gifts. That was my impression of love speaking. that was some quote in there also from Love. I guess I like to personify things. Okay. Let's see. Actually, only have
You should be able to hear us chuckling. You should be able to hear us kind of chuckling and breathing and responding.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, I can see half your faces, at least on one page here. So I love seeing the reactions. Okay, now this one is a sonnet that is made into a different form, which is called beads. And it's actually in the form of beads, like, like by beads, I mean a necklace. So each stanza is only 3 tiny little lines that each stanza only has a couple of 2 or 3 words in it. So when you see it on the page, they look like beads, in other words. So I'm going to read it in a weird kind of way where I'm going to pause after every stanza. We'll see how that works. Beads. I open my blueberries, and when the wind I speak of, so often from the lake, laps my lap, a jumble of fake pearls smoothed itself to strands pinned lavishly on my neck. It's how I think of you and how your berries please me nights when all my eyes are closed and lights fade into fairy tulips, but you stay true. If she hadn't stung my face, if rain would soak the terrible ground, if a single bee made the loudest sound, perhaps I'd keep my necklace in a case hidden from every view except your eyes that see me through my cries. All right, that was interesting. Let's see. I think this one is a sonnet in iambic tetrameter as well. And this is the last poem I'll be reading. It's called Mysterious Darling. Quiet. The squirrel hugs a limb. The cat curls round her dreams of prey. Only the leaves newborn in May whisper with bird songs on the rim of sound. I whisper in her ear, I love you so, then stand away, glad to have finally had my say, warm with the blush of her this near. Crashing, the noisy world returns, insisting that I am not hers, and drowns my band of whisperers. So through the years, my spirit learns that once in spring, a lover's dream is truer than the truth might seem. Thank you. That's it.
Well, I'm sorry, Mary, but I'm not going to move on. I need you to read at least 2 more poems.
I was thinking about reading this one. So this is it's like a 3 1/4 page poem. It's the long one. It's called Therudiments of Ruby. Okay, it's full of different voices and meters and non-meters. So in other words, like some of it's free verse and some of it's in meters, some of it's sapphic meters, some of it's iambic pentameter. And I don't know. I just felt that it all worked as one thing, but we'll see if it works or not. I don't know. What else did I want to say? I put the entire thing into couplets, but I don't think I'm going to pause after every couplet. The rudiments of Ruby. I, the witch that walks the earth. I, the witch that bathes in water. I, the witch of work of worth. I, the witch that walks the earth. I, the witch attending my birth. I, the witch and desperate daughter. I, the witch that walks the earth. I, the witch that bathes in water. Chartreuse aura, orb of consequence, my abode of preference and address, where I may amble with pride, coincides with a quarry of fire ants. A sense of place is so very important, oh, so deadly and helpful. So you see, I could not have been at the crime scene. Come forth, as I like to say to the elders. My circle is the 3rd turn in Vineyville. I am a witch of the 4th square. I live at Leaves, treeside. My eyelids, like the lake, gaze at evening slide to deeper, greener leaves. Drift if you wish with me. The slightest breezes lift the curtain of the heat. I see you rippling into bliss. This is my window into you. Raucous, thrilling nights. Sleep and dreams dimmed, the darkness flies, drawing feathered tree buds lightly, falling and filling a wonder trunk of lives. The pink of cloudy dots paints evening brightly. No kidding how the hawk, a black dash, dives to catch a creature from the forest floor. November, trilling still, glows golden gray. We could have been the flames of forgetfulness, a history written somewhere uncertain, those jars buried beneath the dead, little children dead from neglect, torn between evil and good, sheets of paper to start a fire or flowers. Thursday evening, rainfall trickling. I have dinner, seeds and fresh apples after. On the lake, a shadow alights, an ancient absence of knowledge. Scholars wonder, who was her favorite lover? Lovely, ugly, women or men, they quarrel. Phantom, mortal, suicide, teacher, goddess. Fool behind the moon and a mask of weather. Quick as lightning flashes across the tree line. Interstellar shock like the visions chanced on. Moment swinging tight like a trip to Venus, saved in my hindsight, held for the future. In my desert, you are rain, replenishing wells in my hills. You teach me pool tongue. You teach me pool tongue. I had never spoken it before with a woman. My thirst wakes me and stays the night. You are the cool cup on the shelf. Is this moment one drop of water lost like the flowers between us? Let me drink you. My earth cracks and waits. I have the schedule for the ferry. Wave to me soon. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. That was lovely. We could have listened to more, but I will move on since you seem to want us to do that. But thank you so much. I love your work.
Thank you.
So we're moving into the Headmistress Press portion of this program, meaning these are Headmistress books, and we are going to have 4 readers. They're all new books, and I will put the where you can get these books into the chat. This is the finalists, the 2 finalists and the winner of the 2021 Charlotte Muse Chapbook Contest. And the other author, who is Laura Foley, who also published a book with us this year, well known to us. This will be her 3rd HP book. All of these books have been produced since January. They're all really brand new. And here is the sale, or the extra. If you buy a Headmistress Press book between now and March 26th, that's during the duration of the fair, you will receive a free set of our amazing lesbian poet trading cards. So I urge you to buy these books and get your free trading cards. And I'll post each one, I'll introduce each one separately and post where you can buy their book as they are reading. So the first reader is a finalist in our 2021 Charlotte Muse Chapbook Contest, Jackie Craven. She is the author of Cyborg Sister, the book that just came out. Steeped in magical realism, Jackie's work has appeared in many journals, including Agni, Chautauqua, the Massachusetts Review, New Ohio Review, Plowshares, and Pleiades. She also has a full-length poetry collection, Secret Formulas and Techniques of the Masters, published by Brick Road Poetry Press, and a fiction chapbook, Our Lives Became Unmanageable, which was the winner of the Omnidawn Fabulous Fiction Award. Born into a family of artists, Jackie often draws inspiration from surrealistic works painted by her mother, Louise Craven Hurrigan, who painted the image on the cover of Cyborg Sister. I'll hold it up. That's her mom's work. The half-naked girl wearing a pale mask satirizes the birth of Venus by the Italian Renaissance artist Sandro Botticelli. The cover art and Jackie's poems are fanciful commentaries on social conventions and the objectification of women. Jackie lives in Schenectady, New York, and writes in a cluttered room beneath a painting of a juggler, a monkey, and a Davenport drifting in midair. Jackie, read for us.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you to Headmistress for this beautiful, beautiful cover. I'm just thrilled. Yeah, Cyborg Sister is it's a sci-fi story told through poems. And it's also a parable about manufactured beauty and the mask that women often feel pressured to wear. I'll read just a few short poems, and I'll read entirely from the chapbook today. She never answers my knock. She never answers my knock. Older than me and too iridescent to leave her room, my sister clicks and hums through the night. I want to crack the door and touch the edge of her secrets. She eats shadows in bed. If I close my eyes, I can feel a chitter and thrum of gears, each one small as a baby's tooth. So much artistry went into her construction, tweezers trembling and swaying light, Mama breathing, careful, careful, Daddy weaving magnificent intestinal springs. He designed the manifold, but it was Mama who wrapped the wires and tied them into durable knots. Boys scuttle between the walls. They slip under doors. Shh, they're here. We cover our heads. They follow us inside, swarm our eyes, buzz our ears. Stink the air, give us sweaters and rings, give us lockers and photos, give us snips of hair, we try the stairs, every floor, zzz, they're here, boys in the halls, boys in the yard, boys at the pool, life boy sits high, watches from high, praying mantis legs, praying mantis arms. Quick, mama says, show him your teeth, show him your smile. Sometimes people ask me whether these poems are autobiographical, and I do have a sister, but she is not a cyborg. But in a way, I guess all poems are drawn from reality in a sense, and maybe the cyborg is actually me and my own feeling of cyborgness. Every day her steel frame expands. Every day her steel frame expands. When her skin stretches tight, my sister writhes and tries to smile. She can't help screeching at the knees. Give her time, Daddy says. She'll calibrate. She rests in the sun-drenched garden and sips castor oil with a sprig of mint. Fibers unravel at the wrists. It's impossible to ignore the whine of straining wires. You should have known our daughter would need zippers, Mama sighs, and tears my sister open at the seams. She tries to hide the oily scent of her maturation. She tries to hide the oily scent of her maturation behind her bedroom door. The s of Shalimar spritzed from cut glass bottles, and at night, the hiss of my sister unzipping. For a moment, her membrane holds its shape, elbows bent and hands folded in the posture she wears at her desk in school. Then it crinkles down. I imagine a perfect pointed toe stepping out, careful not to snag cellulose threads. What does she become while she soaks herself in the bathroom sink? Can a girl exist without a skin? I find her folded over the shower curtain rod, arms dangling, the mask of her face upside down, dripping into the tub. A funny thing happened after I wrote these poems, and searching for cover art, I found a painting by my mother that she did many, many years ago, and I had forgotten about it. But the girl in the painting with the copper colored hair and the white, looks like a white plastic mask, she really resembled the image I had in mind when I wrote these poems. So I just knew it had to appear on the cover, and I'm very grateful to Headmistress Press for making that possible. Our Father gives us robotic roses. Our Father gives us robotic roses, coiled hinges screech open, brass petals unfurl. My rose purrs beneath the sepals. My sister's vibrates like a Stratocaster guitar. Don't touch, she shrieks, because I ruin everything. But I'm the one who oils the steel thorns and dusts the compressor coils and smells rubber gaskets overheating and lovingly sets our Father's electric gift in a cool basin of water. Wire filaments spark, steam billows up the stairs where my sister explodes. 9 joules, but where did you put the colombe? Her with her wet resin eyes, her with copper hair, still damp from her afternoon shower, sputtering like a drowned toaster. When her tongue breaks, my sister tries to say, When her tongue breaks, my sister tries to say, they put me in, I want you to know, they put, is you vacation, put me, 1, 2, 3, one nation, I want you to know, 1, 2, station, they put me in Iceland, do you know, they put me in salvation, is you know, they put, I so you to know, they put me in 6, 7, nation, so long, they put 1, 2, 4, I want you to know, they put me in isolation, they put, I want. And I will read one more poem from the chat book. This comes pretty near the end of the chat book. No one speaks of the empty ghosts in the basement closet. No one speaks of the empty ghosts in the basement closet, drooping from wire hangers and arranged chronologically by age. My sister's discards preserved in camphor and talcum powder. Here's the deflated balloon of her infancy. Here's a hollow snuggie with toes like black-eyed peas. And here are skins with polished nails, skins with ballerina feet, and the skin she wore when she won the 7th grade spelling bee. Her back pressed to the wall so no one would see the bulky zipper along her spine. Yellow in the light of a pull chain bulb, they rustle at my touch and seem to whisper, stay away. But what's the harm in looking? Her 16th skin is sheer as a butterfly net, beautiful even in its vacancy, with tapered fingers that try to play a piano when I slide my hand inside. Will I ever be this graceful? Upstairs, a sewing machine whirs, and Mama calls my name. Look what I've made for you. See how it flatters your shape? Thank you, everyone. It's a joy to be here.
Thank you so much for reading, Jackie. Either you really do have a weird family, or more likely you just have a wonderful imagination, which is very appreciated. These poems are really fun and interesting, and thank you for reading them so well.
Thank you. Well, my family is pretty weird, but thank you.
Our next reader, also not a stranger to Headmistress Press. This is Jen Rouse's 3rd book with us, and she was also a finalist in this year's Charlotte Mew Chapbook Contest. Jen is the director of the Center for Teaching and Learning at Cornell College. Her work has appeared in Lavender Review, Poet Lore, Poetry, Another Chicago Magazine, and elsewhere. She lives in Iowa City with her wife, 16-year-old daughter, and 2 raucous Wheaton Terriers. She loves all her headmistress titles and feels very lucky to have found such a good home for them. So Jen, let's hear from you.
Oh my goodness. I don't know if I can follow that. That was so amazing, Mary and Jackie, and oh, so good. Thank you, Risa, and thank you, Mary, for having me. I appreciate this opportunity so much. And I really do love my headmistress titles. So the new one is called A Trickle of Bloom Becomes You, and I'm going to read from that primarily today. So I wrote this book last March when the Midwest was kind of waking up from its long winter's nap. And thanks to Headmistress, I get to share some of it with you. and kind of bring us into spring, which is a good thing, I think. We talked a lot about mud already. So this book began as I ran across a little piece on brain pickings about fern mania in the Victorian era, women hunting and collecting ferns and having these kind of wild experiences out in the wilderness. And that was kind of the inspiration for the book. So the focus of many of these poems is on 19th century women, botanists and botanical illustrators, professions in the sciences where women were actually allowed some freedom during that time. I'm going to begin with a poem about Mary Delaney, and she was an amazing paper cut botanical artist during this time. If you've never seen her work, definitely kind of Google around while I'm reading and you can find some out there. It's fantastic. This is called A Fairy Spot of Ground. Perhaps the way this garden plays in light and shadow, in slurping fountain majesty, in clandestine benches tucked into cascading foliage, in the night blooming jasmine scent that masks all others. Perhaps the way this garden turns its pale petals to the nape of your neck, its nestling mosses against your breast, its elegant fortress hedges behind your supple spine. Perhaps the way this garden lingers in divine memory, in the softly hanging jewels of bleeding hearts, in the body you are so certain bends its silhouette out of the mist. This garden so designed you for every breathless bloom and its suspense. The next piece is inspired by Anna Atkins, and she was a cyanotype creator. She created 400 British algae cyanotypes, and she was the first person to illustrate a book with photographs. This is called A Lengthy Performance. Bring me the tide and the sky, delicate feathers of the sea, each winged alga suspended in Prussian blue. Iron and sun, memory carve you. Here is the divine light where art and science meet, not to create a likeness, but to capture and contour the vibrant life itself, symbiotic, cyanotyped, your sorted, gentle cells, sewn image to text a woman might see beyond words to bring you this choir of many. In the next poem, a little bit of the Gothic sneaks in. This is called The Monsters of Plants. She dreamed each night that her arms extended into the shape of a lily, the scent reminiscent of hours spent in her grandmother's garden. The color extraordinary, like the poisonous purple sister flower in Rappaccini's Daughter. Her mind is Hawthornian, but Edgar's heart beats in the floorboards, or in the lily pulsing where her fingers should be. The scent sounds like a fluttering heart. When she sears her lily hand to yours, a trickle of bloom becomes you. In that moment that extends between worlds, a choice must be made. Or has it been made in the floorboards, when you are certain you have met each night, her scent like lilies beating time in your dream? When you wake, what kind of hand are you holding? The next poem I'm going to read is a little bit about Elizabeth Knight Britton, and she wrote 170 papers on mosses, and she held the title Honorary Curator of Mosses at the New York Botanical Garden, which she also co-founded. I mean, who wouldn't want to be named the Honorary Curator of Mosses? I really, I would love a title like that. That seems fantastic. So here she is, our Curator of Mosses. To split and split again the small hands of water, a kaleidoscope of green stars, polytrichum to root. She dreams of all the ways air might move through and against, sputtering to life in front of her lens. Listen, what silences itself in winter will call out like a spring mistress. 170 times she will name you bryophyte, constant embryo of the ground. She will claim you as her very own xeromorph. Hush now, evergreen, unbranched. Slide into the sandy forest floor with all your fingers. Breathe. Thank you. Mimosa pudica is our next title, and a mimosa pudica is a sensitive or humble plant, but you just kind of gotta love its Latin. It also can mean a shame plant, so this focuses a little bit more on that. What if your only language was shame, and that made you a curiosity? And what if what they thought was shame was also electricity? And what if the laws of physics were really always poems to begin with, when the only option is to turn away, fold each leaf up in explosive unison? You are nystagnostic. Hold your breath and let all cells fire into the darkness. No hope in the smallest droplet of water. If we call this a defense to keep the beasts at bay, are you mechanical or vital? What if you were always beautiful, but no one told you? Instead, they inflicted, called you names, sensitive, and defined themselves as not. How you always moved their small thinking forward, humble plant, fighting into light. Thanks. Do a couple more. This is called These Queer Flowers, and this is one of the few dudes that make an appearance in the book. His name is Grant Allen. He is a Canadian, or was a Canadian science writer and novelist, and he described insectivorous plants, like Feed Me Seymour. What is that plant called? Man-eating flytrap, right? Is that right? That one. Anyway, so he called those plants queer flowers, floral femme fatales with murderous propensities. And I really just couldn't, leave murderous propensities out there without throwing that. A Venus flytrap, thank you. I like man-eating flytrap, but Venus. All right, these clear flowers. Because plants are not proper, we know them to be messy and loud and riotous in color. Holding tightly to their stories, unnamed, the fertile fingers of the first finders, the doctress, the healers, who knew them well before the spectacle. Unfolded, perfect for the Gothic and their murderous propensities. Place your man-eating tree smack in the middle of your haunted mansion, beguiling the way the undead beckon, with evolution on their breath and the promise of a woman. And then two of my favorites from this book. One is Cells, which is a little bit about my inability to keep plants alive at all. Serious trouble with this. I will take tips after the reading. Thank you. Cells. I was the kind of child who loved drawing the beauty of science. I might have been a perfect Victorian lady of plant painting. It's true, except maybe for the well-coiffed part, the neatness. Perhaps moral precision would have been my downfall. Hard to tell. Definitely of the having one very good woman friend variety. Tough and up to the conversations of men. All that if the asylum hadn't nicked me. But even then, so many gardens to paint. I should probably tell you that I've never kept a plant alive. And for 30 years, my brain tried to kill me every day. The skeleton cactus on my windowsill is proof. I remember making a plant cell when I was young out of a Genoa sponge. It was turn your teeth green, a bright springy cake that looked as lovely as its name and the sounds of science. Mitochondria, membrane, reticula. I'm not sure I ever really made meaning of any of it. So many extraordinary ways to enter and exit the light. Then I'm going to end with the actual last poem of the book. And this is a poem that I wrote about a place that's very special to me. I grew up in going to spend summers with my grandparents in Hackensack, Minnesota, up in the Northwoods. And this is a little bit of that imagery from there. It's called Approaching Death Like a Botanist. Finger to finger with lake-suckled cedar, chewing the spicy needle of a giant pine. Would you feather into the frond of a fern or make your final bed against a blanket of mosses? To return again to discovery, wondering what you will grow with your best cells shed. How else to greet fear but by waiting for the ghost of a birch to walk you from this place? You remember her best dressed as she always is in her trailing gown of cloudy skin. Take the hem of her to the edge of every forest. Tell the most beautiful story of something risen from ash and loam. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Amongst many other things, you are definitely the curator of all vegetation. Those poems were really, really, really fabulous. So, moving to our next reader, whom we're lucky to have with us today. She wasn't sure she could make it, and she was the winner of the Charlotte Muse Chapbook Contest 2021 with Tender Tender, this lovely book here. Another gorgeous piece of art and another gorgeous, really cover design. So Jessica is the author of 4 collections of poetry: Tender Tender, winner of the Charlotte Muse Prize, Dust Runner, Sissy and the Girl from Town, and Slap Leather. Ooh, Slap Leather. Let's get that one. She is also the co-editor of the bilingual collection I Hear the World Sing. Jewell is the senior academic program director for the Wick Poetry Center at Kent State University, where she earned her MFA and PhD. So, Dr. Jewell, read for us.
Thank you so much, Risa. Thank you so much, Mary, for everything that you do to midwife these books into the world. I'm so grateful to you. And Laura, Jen, Jackie, it's an honor to read with you all. So I'm so happy to be here, and I could make it for the reading. Thank you for squeezing me in the week of. I really do appreciate it. So this collection is something that I wrote in a kind of a fever of summer of 2020, with the pandemic really starting, unfortunately, and the sort of, I think the reckoning, some of the moral reckoning that I was trying to come to terms with happening in the world. And I've always written very project-oriented pieces. And so this was a real departure in trying to sort of figure out where poetry belongs in the world at this time, and where love fits in. And so I just sort of abandoned my usual style and form and decided to write love poems. So they're all love poems, and I'm going to read a few for you today. Intercession, Stormlight. The storm arrives again. I hear it beyond the clouds, a lost sandhill crane barking acts of moral virtues west to sea. The sky at first plume, then pale, a supplicant drained of all blushing, who can no longer hear the voice of God through the wind. A lovelorn insomniac, finally falling asleep and not dreaming of her, but in absentia, like Methuselah dragging a stool across the horizon, looking for a place to rest or return to White Mountain Bristlecone. A canyon of unanswered echoes, an empty spider egg dropping from a door frame onto the kitchen floor. The sound an iron gate makes shutting behind you when you leave your childhood home for the last time and someone is waving from a darkened window. A visitor from another lifetime you never kissed, or a memory begging against abandonment, that untended fire that spits, coughs, and recedes into ash, plume ascending like the sun to troposphere, sobbing and fearful and full of light. Psalm in the pandemic. In the kitchen, in my kitchen, in the afternoon light in your hair, in the black dog at the lake, in the nibbled willow branches at Beaver Marsh, in the God of animals, in momentum, in the oldest of the gods, in the subtext of the translation, in your favorite love poem, in long lines at the grocery store again, in the brand of tissue you hoard, in the gold stores under the earth, in the early stars, in the stars that left us here, in the leather and gold you leave in my bed, in some trouble with trajectory, in the west setting wind that moves us to kiss, in the God of wind, in cold and warm pains, in penitence, in the valley in the park, in the dewberry in the belly of the blackbird, in those berries you grew your first summer, in memories missing eye, in the need, in the easing of the pressures now, in the cure for all scourges, in the God of cures, in the warm light of God. A lot of my work uses a kind of lexicon from my childhood as a, I would say, fairly rebellious, falling Catholic, and that sort of lexicon has always influenced how I see the line and hear the music of the poems, and so this work really relies on that as well. Love is explained by quantum entanglement. Tonight, as the light rain falls, tell yourself that you are loved even if you are not sure. Our moon is out there, yes, and adored, but so is her twin, who is smiling in the cold, quiet, nova pink light of another universe. No one has seen her except in the timeless dark of dreams. She tells herself that someone loves her, a child maybe who once fell from her ridges and floated away, and is out there with happy memories of her, and everything is connected. Can you see it? It's so clear, like this rain tonight, and she's out there humming a song once heard in a cathedral, and that's when you knew that love is tethered to all times, and that music is a cathedral of the faithful stars, and let's live now. Leviticus in Bloomington. Her parents blame Bloomington for her inclination toward meadowlands and sweetgrasses and the many sacred honeys she'd savored over time, the canvas she's laid out before the sun for staining, and the wee blooms she plucks to make wishes on, and the hunger that edges into the night with her and onto her mother tongue that few can decipher, and servitude to the moon sometimes, and not to God who is always with her. And that bewilders them too. And once they sent her ahead for curing, and they blame the Bloomington Bagel Company and the covenant of salt that ushered in the female dynastic age just before the turn of the last century, and for her inclination toward the button and the loom and constellation gazing and the fire she set in the heart of the Bloomington girls, but not how she holds so hard to what she loves. Epistolary prayer of contrition. Lord, tell me the name you gave to the sun the day you made it, and why does the wind eat the prairies during thunderstorms? Tell me how many inhabitable planets there are in the universe, and are there versions of us somewhere else? And do we ever get a chance to meet our other selves and see if they made the same mistakes we did with our time? And do we have the same names, you and I? Why did you give us the moon and snow and the underground wonders we write poems about? Or do we love them because you are the snow and the moon? Or are you all things, as some say? Do you know I once believed all the stories about you and would cry from fear? And are you fear too, as well as grace? Are you the sea? Or are you, forgive me, just the word for the sea? When you leave, everything leaves. Everything refuses. Everything has atmosphere. Everything is bound for a shadow life. Everything is its replica. Everything replaces. Everything is tenderness. Everything takes the air. Everything has cellular memory. Everything long has mountains and moons. Everything dark has a human psyche. Everything is primordial property. Everything forgets to breathe. Everything is forest. Everything east has a mountain and a sun. Everything west is howling. Everything sleeps like snow. Everything begins this evening, this wanting. A confession. This is after Sezwa Milosh. My Lord, I loved picking berries in the summer and the dark sweetness of my lover's body. Also, her berry-stained fingers made pinker by a ring so gold the spirits of your heaven reached down to pluck it and missed. Like the way they missed every offering I've made since I met her the year the sky was sea, and the sea was a storm we hadn't yet oars for, let alone know how to row. I've emptied more glasses than I filled, thrown myself on food, hungered greedily for women's collarbones. I love the feel of the whale's tongue and wanted to stay swallowed. Not even a minor Jonah of the world you created, and each day I moored the elegy for its ending. Forgive me, Lord, for I wrote this poem. I'm not sure if you read it, but it ends like this. Okay, I have one more, and my partner is a nurse and she works nights. So she is probably listening right now from the car as she's driving to her facility. So I want to read this one for her because it came out of a conversation that we had. She's always very excitedly telling me about the articles she's read in the Lancet. And I have like pretty much no idea what she's ever talking about, but her enthusiasm is very infectious. Prayer of adoration as interferons and cytokines. You were trying to tell me about interferons and cytokines and say the cytokines go nuts during a peculiar cell response to the virus currently wrecking the world. And I have no idea what you mean, but my heart responds to your passions in a way that I think could be described as going nuts, in a way that I want to wreck myself on your cellular signals because I'm wild about you, as wild as all the things we don't know about the body, still, even in this age when we can look inside it and watch how it builds and destroys. And because we're a part of it, the future of ourselves, we can't see beyond what we don't already know. The cell can't become more than its programming, that natural calculus we all serve, and thus why we look inside and write and publish papers about poems and poems about cytokines and think, wow, it's wild what's happening here, but not quite make sense of it, since we are not yet at the delta of our knowledge and must believe in what we imagine to be true, like the gods made all the heavens and the earths, and I will love you forever. Thank you.
Laura Foley, as Risa was saying, is one of our frequent flyer authors at Headmistress Press. Laura Foley is the author of 8 poetry collections, Everything We Need, Poems from El Camino was released in winter 2022. Why I Never Finished My Dissertation received a starred Kirkus review, was among their top poetry books of 2019, and won an Eric Hoffer Award. Her collection, It's This, is forthcoming from Salmon Press. Her poems have won numerous awards and national recognition, read frequently by Garrison Keillor on the Writer's Almanac, appearing in Ted Kuzer's American Life and Poetry. Laura lives with her wife, Clara, Jimenez, I think that's right, Jimenez, among the hills of Vermont. Okay, Laura, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mary, for pitching in. Thank you, Risa, for trying. And thank you, other readers. It was really fun to be part of this this afternoon, or I guess midday for some of you guys. So this is Everything We Need, and the cover is designed by Mary, and the photograph is taken by Clara, who we were together on the Camino walking across Spain. So I'm going to read a few poems from here. So Clara Jimenez is from Spain. You might have guessed that. And her mother lives in Madrid. Madre. As the train rumbles side to side, as we leave the town of Clara's birth, we move into the hot, dry plain, green after recent, sweet spring rains, remembering how we sat in her mother's flat, abode of 50 years, as thunder sang its omen tones, as clouds, dark gray against still blue sky, let go their load on us, on the city, on all of Spain, a heavy rain, and how today the sky's all sun, swept clean after last night's weeping. This morning we crossed the not yet busy street as her mother leaned over the balcony, her small frame bent with age, her spine un perro rabioso que muerde, a rabid dog she can't bite back. We and she called and waved as we turned the sunny corner, our backpacks the last she sees of us, as she turns away, closing the casement window to sit alone and think of us. So that was the first time that Clara and I went off on a pilgrimage, and that was in 2018, and we repeated it in 2019. And then came COVID. Belief. Walking the endless meseta, we turn to see yellow broom flowers, orange poppies going by, the only way to know these pilgrims' progress. Each night, an ancient town new to us steps closer to our journey's end. We feel no mystic pull towards Santiago, but we believe in the awe of those who do, as Gregorian chants pipe through a darkened church, and a friend we meet weeps freely at a cafe table. We leave Castro Jerez in the graying dark before dawn, before cafes open, our shoes tapping a slow rhythm on quiet streets. And though at this moment they're empty of all but us, we know the road, the path we've chosen, takes us somewhere many have gone before. We feel them all in the hard-packed trail, in our aching feet, in our will to keep going, a mysticism we can believe. There was someone here, Lynn, but I think she's gone. She's, oh, there you're here, hi. We met Lynn on the Camino. The Return starts with a little quote from Machado. Our steps are the path The path is made by walking. I stood in the rumbling homebound train for 3 hours, happy that my legs, grown strong from walking the widths of Spain, didn't tire. Still, it's odd not to be striving, as if struggle were the reason for being, rather than standing in one place, or breathing the sweet scent of honeysuckle blooming through the opened windows of home. So I thought I'd read one more. And this poem is after we came back from our second Camino and Clara was diagnosed with breast cancer. And we faced all of the treatments that are involved. And we spoke about it this way as a kind of Camino. The Camino was difficult. The pilgrimage was difficult. The walk was hard. It was long. It was wonderful and it was challenging. And the experience of the cancer treatments had a similar kind of challenge to it. And she put a scallop shell on her backpack, the backpack that she used for her infusion treatments. So she had a backpack with her stuff on it and treated it as a kind of challenge, which of course it was. And I can say now that everything went well, and she's doing well, and now it's almost 2 years out now. To Santiago, we began climbing in the year's darkest days, diagnosis in late November, turning trips to the Cancer Center's mountain into adventure. Tying a scallop shell to her hospital backpack, we metaphored illness as a pilgrimage to Santiago. 8 chemo treatments, followed by surgery. We trekked December's steep, bitter peaks, January's icy valleys. How many miles, we'd say, about halfway, sometime in snowy February. We slogged on through a wet March, a windy April that didn't seem like spring. Though our feet did not develop blisters, her heart raced at an alarming rate. She lost her hair, and her taste buds changed, a bit metallic, she'd say, with grit. As we approached surgery in early May, we searched the horizon for the cathedral, knew the steeple would soon come into view. Soon we'd descend the final hill to Santiago. Soon the maroon-robed priests would swing the botafumeiro over our heads, fill the vast space with cleansing fragrance of myrrh and frankincense. Soon we'd stroll along the beach at the end of the world, the beach that ends one world and begins another. Cancer would become a wintry memory, and our legs would rest, our stash of metaphors ready for the next quest. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Because I just want to say, Clara, we're so happy to know that you're doing okay. I don't know you, but I'm so glad that you have Laura in your life. Laura has this spiritual and soft way of traveling. All her life has been very interesting. She could have written about it in so many different ways. She's become a chaplain. There's so many things to admire about her, and through her, I think of you fondly, and I'm so glad you're doing okay.
Thank
you. Laura was our last reader. I may buzz in and out again, but there is time if anybody wants to throw out some questions to any of our readers for about another 10 minutes or so, and then we will sign off. It's been a great reading, everyone. Thank you for coming, and thank you for reading, and thank you for all reading so well. These books are lovely. And I'll let you see if you want to raise a hand or just unmute yourself and ask questions or say things to our readers today before we sign off. In fact, the traditional thing to do is everyone unmute and let's give everyone a round of applause. Let's do that. Unmute, unmute, unmute. Speak up, anyone who wants to speak. I'll give you a few minutes here and then we'll sign off.
I don't know. My thought was listening to these lesbian poets is, it seems to me like lesbian poetry is like growing right in front of our eyes as I heard these poems. That's my thought.
Well, thanks a lot to you,
Yeah.
Mary.
Yeah, but you guys are the ones
Yes.
writing the poems.
You're bringing them into the world.
Yes, and I
Someone-
love doing that. Yeah.
Someone called you a midwife tonight. Someone said
Yeah.
I have a friend who's a doula. She's incredible.
that.
I just wanted to say, I'm Jessie. I helped organize Small Fair, and I just wanted to say it was really, really beautiful. So thank you guys for reading and everything. I thought I've been like trying to pop into the different readings and stuff. If anyone wants a prize, you guys can email me here and I'll shoot you. I have 800 different things to give away. So if you guys want to get a book or a literary goodie, there you go. But I just wanted to chime in more than anything and just say it was really beautiful. So thank you guys for sharing your work.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Jessie.
Thank you.
Jesse, I noticed you were here and I don't know if you heard me at the beginning, but I gave a lot of thanks to the hard work you all have done. And it was just great to see you here. And I'll put those links in the chat again right now. I'll do that right now. Thank you for coming though. That was very sweet of you.
I think as different as we all are as poets, there was so much that was interconnected between the works, right? Like it was just lovely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, Jen.
Yeah, I get it. It was fantastic. So
Really.
I
It's
feel
so-
like I'm in great company.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, I would like to introduce everyone. This is Elizabeth Wilson. She won the Sappho's Prize in Poetry.
Oh, congratulations.
So her book's going to be coming out soon. Actually, here's the cover.
ooh, that is
Wow.
fabulous. Look at that.
Yeah, that's Violet Trefusis, who was Vita Sackville West's lover.
Ah.
This is a photo that is just like on the internet and nobody knows who took the photo or, when or anything. And it's just, and Elizabeth found the photo on Lavender Review and Rita Mae Reese colorized it and sort of increased the pixels. So that's that cover. Oh, and the other thing is, Jen, the artist who did your cover, Frederick Layton,
Mhm.
is related to my next door neighbor. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I told them for some reason, I said that Frederick Layton did your cover, and she said, well, he was my ancestor.
That's wild.
I know.
I love that cover. It's so pretty.
It is really. It's just like pure gorgeousness. So,
We do have another Headmistress Press poet here. Is she still here? Sam, can you say hi? Are you
Hey,
around and can
Sam.
you show us?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Sam.
Well, I said I would shut down the program when everyone was through speaking, so I'm going to do that now. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
great
Thank you, Risa,
Thank
for
you.
hosting.
It was wonderful.
Thanks for all your work,
Thanks.
Risa.